We're going to start in verse 1, and we're live all over the world. We are coming to you from a little bit drizzly Southern California. We're glad that you're here to study God's Word with us wherever you're at in the world today. 1 Samuel 25, verse 1. Now Samuel died. So Samuel's the guy that this book is written. His name's on it. And he has died in chapter 25. And all Israel assembled and mourned for him, and they buried him at his house in Ramah. Then David rose and went down to the wilderness of Paran, and there was a man in Moab whose business was in Carmel, and the man was very rich. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife was Abigail. And the woman, underline the sentence, and the woman was discerning and beautiful. But the man was harsh and badly behaved, and he was a Calebite. David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was shearing his sheep, so David sent 10 young men, and David said to the young men, "Go up to Carmel and go to Nabal and greet him in my name. And thus you shall greet him, peace be to you, peace be to your house, and peace be to all you have. I hear that you have shearers. Now your shepherds have been with us, and we did them no harm, and they're missing nothing all the time that they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will tell you. Therefore, let my young men find favor in your eyes, for we come on a feast day. Please give whatever you have at hand to your servants and to your son David." When David's young men came, they said all this to Nabal in the name of David, and they waited. And Nabal answered David's servants, "Who is David? Who is this son of Jesse? There are many servants these days who are breaking away from their masters. Shall I take my bread and my water and my meat and that I have killed for my shearers and give it to men who come from I don't know where?" So David's young men turned away and came back and told him all this. And David, when he heard it, said to his men, "Every man strap on your sword." And every man of them strapped on his sword, and David also strapped on his sword. And about 400 men went up after David, while 200 remained with the baggage. But one of the young men came and told Abigail, Nabal's wife, "Behold, David sends messengers out of the wilderness to greet our master," and he railed at them. Yet the men were very good to us, and we suffered no harm, and we did not miss anything when we were in the fields as long as we went with them. And they were a wall to us both by night and by day, all the while we were there with them keeping the sheep. Now therefore know this and consider what you should do, for harm is determined against our master and against all his house, and he is such a worthless man that no one can speak to him." Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 skins of wine and 5 sheep already prepared, and 5 seahs of parched grain, and 200 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on donkeys. And she said to her young men, "Go on before me, I will come after you." But she did not tell her husband Nabal. And as she rode over on the donkey and came under the cover of the mountain, behold, David and his men came down toward her, and she met them. And David said, "Surely in vain I have guarded all this fellow has in the wilderness, so that nothing has been missed of all that belonged to him, and he has returned me evil for good. God do so to the enemies of David and more also, if by morning I leave as much as one male of all who belongs to him alive." When Abigail saw David, she hurried and got down from the donkey, and she fell down before David on her face and bowed to the ground. And she fell at his feet and said, "On me alone, my Lord, be the guilt. Please let your servant speak in your ears and hear the words of your servant. Let not my Lord regard this worthless fellow Nabal, for his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your servant, did not see the young men of my Lord, whom you sent. Now then, my Lord, as the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, because the Lord has restrained you from blood guilt and from saving from your own hand, now let your own enemies and those who seek to do evil to my Lord be as Nabal. And now let this present that your servant has brought to my Lord be given to the young men who follow my Lord." Underline verse 28, "Please forgive the trespass of your servant, for the Lord will certainly make for my Lord a sure house, because my Lord is fighting the battles of the Lord, and evil shall not be found in you so as long as you live. If men rise up to pursue you and seek your life, the life of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of the living in the care of the Lord your God. And the lives of your enemies he shall sling out as from the hollow of a sling. And when the Lord has done to my Lord according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and has appointed you as prince over Israel, my Lord shall have no cause of grief or pangs of conscience for having shed innocent blood without cause. For my Lord is working salvation for himself. And when the Lord has dealt well with my Lord, then please remember your servant." And David said to Abigail, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you to this day to meet me. Blessed be your discretion," underline the sentence, "and blessed be you who have kept me this day from blood guilt and from working salvation with my own hand. For as surely as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, who has restrained me from hurting you, unless you had hurried and come to meet me, truly by morning there would not have been one left to Nabal as much as one male." And David received from her hand what she brought, and he said to her, "Go in peace to your house. See, I have obeyed your voice and granted your petition." And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he was holding a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunk. So she told him nothing until the morning. And in the morning, when the wine had gone out of Nabal, his wife told him these things, and his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And about 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal, and he died. Then David heard that Nabal was dead. He said, "Blessed be the Lord, who has avenged the insult I received from the hand of Nabal, and has kept his servant from wrongdoing. The Lord has returned the evil of Nabal on his own head." Then David sent and spoke to Abigail to take her as his wife. When the servants of David came to Abigail at Carmel, they said to her, "David has sent us to take you to him as his wife." And she rose and bowed down with her face to the ground and said, "Behold, your handmaid is a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord." And Abigail heard and rose and mounted a donkey, and her 5 young women attended her. And she followed the messengers of David and became his wife. Have you ever been offended? 7 people in here, that's not bad. So you guys are doing good. Ready? I'm going to walk into one of the areas of your life that emotionally, it'll lead you away from God if you don't have people in your life to help direct you. Because when emotional things happen, when you start to burn inside, somebody offends you, somebody gets sideways with you, something happens online, and you just want to burn the world, there's going to be a moment, ready, that you need a partner. You need somebody with you, a friend, someone that's godly, that can go, "Nope, we're not going to do that. Nope, 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 nope. We're not going to go off the cliff. Nope, nope, nope." They'll help you walk along the pathway that God has for you. Because here's the problem. Many of us, either one, don't have friends like that. They're just a bunch of tool bags that don't help us walk with God. They're just kind of yes men that go, "Bro, I feel the same way. Let's go do it." You got a bunch of girlfriends like, "Oh man, you shouldn't let him talk to you like that, man." Rather than going, "Hey, you know what? Time out. Let's not train wreck your life. Let's take a breath. Let's think about what God wants." Many of us don't have friends like that. But I'm going to show you the value, if you're married, of having a godly woman in your life. If you're single, the value of building into your life godly friends who have the courage and love to speak into your life when you could be making a really bad decision. And that you love them enough and care about them enough where you go, "I will input what you're telling me and change." If you got your notes, pull them out. They should be inside your bulletin. If you're on campus with us, it should be in your bulletin. If you're online with us, at the top of the comment section on Facebook, you'll see a link. Under the video on YouTube, you'll see a link. Click on it, my notes will come up. Here's the power of a godly woman. Number 1, David is insulted. David is insulted. After Samuel died, David went with his men and lived in the desert of southern Israel. There, he came into contact with a wealthy Israelite named Nabal, living in Carmel. As Nabal was an Israelite living near him, out of courtesy, David protected his herds from Philistine raiders. And so David is protecting Nabal's herds because he's a fellow Israelite from Philistines who they lived along the coast, and they would always kind of work their way inland into the interior of Israel. And so David was kind of like a border patrol to keep the Philistines from taking Nabal's stuff. So David is living in the desert, just making sure that these raiders aren't coming in to take Nabal's thing. So he's kind of doing him a solid by just saying, "Hey, you're a fellow Israelite. I'm already living here. I'm going to protect your stuff." Nabal's exceptionally wealthy. And so David's like, hey, even though I'm the king, I'm the anointed king, he hasn't become the ruling king yet. Saul is the ruling king at this point, but David is the anointed king. So he hasn't transitioned to become the main man yet. So he's in the transition period. And here's our first principle. Use your strengths to help others' weaknesses. Use your strengths to help others' weaknesses. I want you to understand something about being human. One of the great parts of being human is that you have strengths from God. There are things that God, there's a piece of you that's like, is gifted by God in an exceptional way that he doesn't give to everybody else or the people that are in your vicinity or in your circle of influence. And so the way God has designed humans and the way God designed a church and the way God designed a family is we are designed to do life together. We're designed to be together. And so I'm not talking about being a people person. So sometimes when I say that, sometimes people go, I'm not really a people person. I just like to, be by myself or whatever. So I'm not talking about being social. I'm talking about the fact that you need people in your life that can speak into your life and give you godly counsel, people you'll listen to. And here's the thing, if you have nobody like that, that either means you're really arrogant and stupid, or you're unfriendly and need to start being friendlier. Because you need to develop people in your life, they will speak into your life and you go, I'm gonna listen to that. So watch, David here now, he's living in the desert, he is going to be offended here in a moment in our notes, and he's going to make a really bad decision. But I want you to understand, Abigail to Nabal is shoring up his weakness. And it's the sign of a great friend. It's the sign of a great partner. It's the sign of a great teammate. If you've ever been on a team, not everybody has the same skill level. Not everybody has the same athletic ability. Everybody has different builds from God. Everybody has different, intellect capacity. But when you put a team together, ideally, they all work together with their strengths to bring up about victory. Hopefully you'll see that at the Super Bowl. But it's going to be lame because the Vikings won't be there. But ideally, coaches just go over and over and over, like, everybody on the team, do your job, do your job, do your job. And part of the problem is this. We need people in our life, but we kind of don't want the people that are going to tell us what we don't want to hear. We don't want those people that are going to say things that we need to change about ourselves, or addictions we need to get over, or harsh ways we speak. So sadly, we push away the exact kind of people that God sends into our lives to help us grow up and grow out for God. Use your strengths to make other people's lives better. Other people are weak where you are strong. Where you are weak, somebody else is strong. In a marriage, so when I'm talking about marriages, God has often designed, you've heard the phrase like opposites attract, and it's usually true. Like when I think about me and my wife, we couldn't be more opposite. My wife is just awesome. She is the social part of our marriage. So she's the one who like, hey, let's get together with some people. She's like butterflies around and like, hey, how's it going? Myself, who I am, just how God made me, I just would love to sit in a dark room playing guitar, singing sad songs by myself. Listen to Depeche Mode or Cure from the 80s or whatever. Just depressing, it's ironic that I'm more of a background guy, but God called me to do this particular thing. So me and my wife are very opposite. We are stereotypically just very opposite. She's heavily relational, I'm heavy occupational. And so, but the beauty of our marriage is that we try to bring the best of our strengths to make each other's lives better. And so that's the beauty of any relationship, whether it's a best friend, whether it's a team, whether it's a marriage, whatever it is like bring your best to the table. Here's the problem though, for most of our marriages, is that we bring our worst to the table. our spouse gets our worst. As a wife, we rip our husband. Our husband ends up being like the lightning rod of just all of our anger as a woman. And so our husband just gets the worst of who we are in our femininity. And our wife just gets the worst of who we are because we're angry about work or we're angry about the 15th freeway. We're just angry about things, and we just come home and our wife gets just the blasting from our life. So rather than giving our best, we give our worst, and we wonder why we struggle in some of these areas. Knowing it was the season when owners would celebrate the shearing of their sheep and throw huge parties, David sends men to politely ask for a token of appreciation for his men living in the desert. And here's our principle. Always appreciate those that God has put in your life for your good. Hey, look at me. There are people that God has put in your life, and some of those men and women have saved your life and helped you not make really bad decisions. Could have been a teacher from back in the day, could have been a Sunday school teacher at church, could have been a pastor, could have been a coach. Somebody goes, nope, son, this is what you're gonna do. Nope, young lady, here's how we act. Or whatever that thing was. It's like literally today, you take your phone out, take your little fat thumbs, and you text them, and you say, thank you. Thank you for speaking into my life 20 years ago or last week or whatever it is. Like, always appreciate the people that God has put in your life for your good. Many times we don't appreciate them because we just kind of go, well, these are the choices I made, and like that person didn't really affect me at all. No, there's many people in your life that God has placed there that sometimes we don't even recognize, that God has kept us from going off the rails. And it's those people, could be a mom, dad, brother, whatever it was, like they spoke into our lives and they were there for our good. Always appreciate the people that God has put in your life for your good. And the people that come up in your mind right now, man, love on those people. Text them this week, shoot them an email, and just go, hey, I was just thinking about you this last week. You really helped me when I was in college. I was really sexually confused, and you just helped me navigate stuff, for God and blah, blah, blah. I remember in middle school, I was really just a confused person about God and stuff. You walked me through some of my doubts and blah, blah, blah. It's like, whoever those people are, man, love on those people. Because God has placed them in your life, and you should always appreciate the godly people that God gives you. Here's a map of where this happened. So in Israel, so the green is where Saul was ruling. You can see that the land of Canaan, which was what it was called before, it was called Israel. The nation of Israel, when they came out of slavery in Egypt, they didn't drive out all the people. They were faithless, and they left a bunch of these people groups there, and one of them is the Philistines, which is way over on the coast there. You can see the Gaza Strip, which is literally where the war is still going on. 3,000 years later, there's still war in that particular area. And so you see David's area there. He's living in the desert in southern Israel. Carmel is inland, and so he has kind of become the protector of Nabal's sheep and stuff in that particular area. And so David's just asking, hey, we've done good to you. Can you show your boys a little love and kick us down some goods? Because what happens is, if you had that much sheep, that many sheep, or that much livestock, you were extremely wealthy. And about late spring, which we're coming up to, April, Mayish, when the weather starts getting warm, they would wash the sheep and then they would shear them. So they would hire shearers to come in and professionally shear all their sheep. Now, if you had a lot of sheep like Nabal did, this was like hitting Bitcoin. I mean, this was like you just rocketed to the top. It was a massive influx of cash. Because now you could sell all the wool, maybe you slaughter some of the sheep, because they made it through the winter. And you're like, boom, like this is my investment. Like I hit the mother lode in the spring. That's why they're throwing these huge parties. So David's like, he knows it's like, oh, you got in the shearers about that time. We literally protected the sheep that you're shearing. So kick us down some barbecue or whatever you're making there. Kick us down some Lucille's and some Schlitz or whatever else you got, whatever you're partying with. Nabal, who may have been loyal to Saul, insults David and his men who had protected the animals he was shearing. Instead of giving in gratitude, Nabal compares David to an escaped slave and mocks his family as an obscure son of Jesse rather than the anointed king. Instead of blessing those who blessed him, his short-sighted selfishness invited destruction. Woo! Listen to me, man. Here's the problem. If you don't get control of your anger, if you don't get control of the manic, like hotness that can come over you if you get insulted or something goes sideways online, somebody insults your family or about your business or whatever, if you don't get control of that or have other people in your life to go, hey, let's take a breath, let's relax for a second, then what happens is this. You go in a rage to go handle that because all you see is red. And you don't see the damage you're going to do is going to actually damage the blessing of the future. Because when you go punch that dude's light out or whatever, or you're on the 15 freeway going 15 miles an hour, and you're like, you didn't use your blinker, BMW driver. Pull over. Pull over. What are you going to do, man? You're going to get in a fist fight on the side of the freeway in front of your family? What are you going to get shot for some weird offense that somebody did on the freeway? You're going to lose your life on the shoulder of the freeway because you couldn't control your anger? Are you crazy? You got 50 years of your life left to be with your family. You're going to die on the side of the freeway for something no one cares about? So if you don't get that rage under control, your rage will lead you right off a cliff. And here's what happens, is if you don't stop seeing red every time you're mad about something, then the blessing that waits for you in the future will never arrive because you keep cutting it off by your anger. You just keep cutting the future off. And many of us have not experienced the blessing of God because we haven't learned to control our emotions. Humans are emotional creatures. It's one thing that makes us special, but I'm talking about the overextension of things that you don't have to get mad about everything. You don't have to just rage about everything. You don't have to be offended by everything. Like, grow up. Mature people go, that kind of hurt my feelings, but I'm going to move on because the blessing of God is greater than my little 1-minute tantrum I could throw. Why are you going to burn the whole village down of the blessing of God for just one minor insult? What are you doing? Our culture has taught you the opposite. The minute you feel something, hey, it's true for you, go crazy. No, don't go crazy. Don't lose everything the good that God has for you in the future because you don't learn to control yourself in the present. Look at Proverbs 18, 6 and 7. I love these two verses. Oh man, I love these two verses. A fool's lips walk into a fight, and his mouth invites a beating. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. Wow. What a great, you know what? How many bar fights have ever happened because somebody talks stupid? You're in Old Town having a Jägermeister. You're at the Stampede, hanging out. Somebody says something dumb about the Vikings, which is godly to defend that. And all of a sudden, there's just some smack talking, and all of a sudden, there's a fist fight, but somebody gets cracked in the head, somebody has to go to the hospital, somebody gets sued, somebody blah. It's like, it's shocking how much drama you would have less in your life if you could just shut your mouth. It's amazing how much of an invite to a beating your mouth says, come hit me. It's like your lips walk into a fight. And your mouth just invites a beating. It's amazing the power of words. And it's the same thing for David. David hears an insult and he just goes, somebody's going to get wrecked. Rather than going, perhaps Nabal needs some correction. I'm going to wait to see what God does. David goes, I'm going to go fix something. Listen to me. One of the strengths of masculinity is they usually handle stuff. Men, when they get angry, usually go physical. Women, when they get angry, usually go verbal. One of the strengths of femininity is their words. One of the weaknesses of femininity is their words. So let me help you, ladies. If you're married, you know what your husband desperately needs? He needs a great partner. He doesn't need a competitor. He doesn't need somebody to fight with. He needs somebody to help him. He needs a godly woman that can just be his best friend. Men get married because they desperately want camaraderie. They want togetherness. They want a partner to do life with. They don't want somebody they have to battle with every day of their life. And I'm not saying there won't be days when you have to go, hey, this is out of line, blah, blah, blah. You got to call your husband and stuff. Of course it's going to happen. What I'm saying is this: everything doesn't need to be a battle. Everything doesn't need to be just a war. It's interesting because many times we've taught our sons, and I taught my son this, and he saw it worked out in our own home. This is how you treat a woman. This is how God expects men to treat women. But I don't remember the last time I ever saw on TikTok or on YouTube or on Facebook Reels or on Instagram, whatever, like, here's the way, young ladies, you need to treat a man. I mean, when's the last time we had a class on how women should treat men? It almost sounds offensive. But that's really sad because we've lied to our daughters and we've given them empty relationships because we've taught our daughters, if the man isn't making you happy, then just bail on him. Basically just use a man until he's done with whatever he's done doing and you just go leave. 80% of divorces in our culture are started by women, which is crazy. Because we've taught our daughters and we've taught the women of our culture, the minute things aren't working out, man, you take 50% of what he's got and you take the kids and you leave. And it leaves the man just devastated. Even the baby's like, that's right on, listen to what this guy's saying. And then our homes are tore apart. Some of us grew up in homes that were from divorced families. And here's the thing, ready? Many times, healthy relationships get done where healthy verbiage is happening. A wife tears her husband down, and a husband tears the wife down, and the kids see that, and so you just pass it on generationally rather than going, there's a lot of stuff that husbands have to put up with their wives. There's a lot of stuff that wives have to put up with their husbands. Neither one are perfect, but you can always work towards a healthy relationship when you have open, good communication rather than destructive, I tear you down. The moment I'm angry, the moment you're not doing the thing I want you to do, I'm gonna tear you down. And we're seeing right now in our culture, and young men aren't getting married. They're just staying on OnlyFans and having these like pseudo relationships and doing this like weird relational, it's like synthesized relationships. Why is that? Because they don't want to get married and then 2 or 3 years later, they got to start all over because somebody just bailed on them and took their kid, took what they've worked for. So let me help you. What men desperately need, ladies, especially if you're single, you're a young lady in here, what men desperately need is a partner. They need somebody to do life with. They need somebody to respect them, to walk alongside of them, to make their lives better. And husbands, don't be stupid. Love and care for your wives. Make their lives awesome. Don't make their lives difficult. Give them a man worthy of respect. Look at this. Thankfulness and generosity are traits of a believer. Always be thankful, always be generous. Nabal wasn't. That leads us to number 2. Number 1, David is insulted. Number 2, Abigail saves everyone. Oh, Abigail. High five, Abby, wherever you are in heaven. Hearing the insult, one of Nabal's shepherds runs to tell his wife, Abigail, that they're all going to die once David finds out. Abigail immediately makes a feast and goes to deliver it to David. Meeting him on the way, she bows down, takes the blame herself, reminds him of his divine calling, and honors and respects his position and character, unlike her husband, whose name literally means fool. Check this out. Nabal's parents at some point had a baby boy, and they're like, we're going to name you Fool. Because Nabal in Hebrew means fool or foolishness. And here's our principle. Here's the heavy lifting of today. Women of God remain women of God, though they might be connected to men who are not. Woo! Look at it with your eyes. Hey, our culture says bail. Scripture says you committed to that marriage, you committed to this relationship. Be the best of who you are as a woman and bring out the best of who he is. Use your gifts to bring out the best in what other people need in your life, in his life and in your marriage. Divorce is the death of things, and it's always going to be difficult, but God will walk you through the difficulty in your marriage. We live in a culture of give up, but God is in the business of making us stand up. We are the ones that don't just lay down when things get hard. We stand up and go, what does God want? And we walk through it together as a husband and a wife. Or if you're single in here and you're looking for a spouse, you're thinking about all the single ladies. Listen. Find a man of God. Find a man of God. Find a man who actually loves God and love him well. And men, find a woman of God. Don't just swipe left and swipe right, looking for a date for the night. Find a woman of God and love her. At least the baby's still with me. That's awesome. Your marriage will never be perfect. You're going to have hard times. You're going to fight, whatever. But you fight fair. You don't use your words to destroy. You use your words to build up, and then you move forward stronger than you were before. It'll never be perfect, but it can be healthy and awesome. Impressed with her humility and intelligence, David commends her as she saved her household and kept him from murdering everyone in his anger. And here's our principle. Women should use the best of who they are to bring out the best in others. I love this picture. David he sends the young men, hey, Nabal's going to make a grip of money off the stuff we protected. Let's see if you can kick us down some goods. He sends the boys. The boys come back. Why aren't you guys carrying anything? Imagine they're all laying around a fire. Marshmallows. Hey, why aren't you guys carrying anything? What did Nabal say? Was he sending something later? No, he said you were like an escaped slave. And he said that he doesn't even know who the son of Jesse is. That you're some obscure weirdo that he's not going to give anything to. He said, what? Are you serious? I love this story. Everybody strap on your sword. It's like out of a movie. Everybody strapped on their sword. Get on your horse. And imagine he's just seeing red. I'm going to kill everybody. I'm going to literally kill everybody. He's got 400 men of war. They're going to go smoke everybody. Everybody's dead. Because Nabal's such an idiot. But you know what? He has a godly wife. And his godly wife stood in the gap for his stupidity. And she saved everybody. And she goes out to meet David, shows him respect, shows him honor. Listen to me. Ladies, look at me. Look at my eyes. And him too. Ready? Men are built for respect and honor. So show honor and respect to your husband. And husbands, love and care for your wives. And your marriage will be awesome. Never perfect, but it can be great. I'll close with this. Abigail returns home to find Nabal drunk. The next day she tells him what happened, and he has a heart attack, and then God kills him 10 days later. So sometimes God gets you back in a weird way. When David hears of it, he blesses God who justified his offense and kept him innocent. And here's our principle. Let God fight your battles. Stop thinking you got to go to war over everything. Stop it. Stop that. You don't have to go to war online. You don't have to fill out a complaint form. You don't have to go to Yelp. Just stop. Stop just being critical and negative. Build up other people. Build life into people rather than tearing them down. Be the person that's like, I want to lift people up rather than be the destruction of what they're doing in their life. He later marries Abigail, who views their marriage as an opportunity to serve David. As David used restraint rather than just anger and vengeance, he not only received Nabal's food, but his wealth and his wife. David got the hookups all the way around. He's like riding out, everybody's gonna die. Abigail's like, time out, got you some food, David. Are we a little hangry? Because I got you. Made you some food. David's like, okay. I'll eat this food. I was feeling a little hangry. And then God goes, I got David's back. Puts Nabal to death. Which God has the right to do that. And then what does David get? He gets everything. Gets an awesome wife. Gets all of Nabal's stuff. Ready? The blessing of God often flows to those who stay in the stream of his will. Here's my encouragement to you. Look at me. Hey, if you're married, love your spouse, speak highly of them, speak highly to them. If you're not married yet, find the one that is following God. There is no perfect man, there's no perfect wife, but you can find the one that's following God. Find that one and pour your life into them. Give the best of who you are to bring out the best in who they are.